we have to address one thing that I wanted to talk about. Maybe I am not yet the best one to talk about this. Maybe you have. I've seen like the internet is divided. This is not confirmed yet that Marco Rubio, Senator Marco Rubio, is going to be the pick for Secretary of State. As of this show, he hasn't been confirmed by Trump, but it seems that he's going to be the one picked. And I see the internet, I did my research, and I saw that the internet is 50-50. 50% says that, okay, I guess, and 50% are totally, completely against. There are maybe 15% of people who are really pro this pick. I would like to make some kind of, maybe I can create a poll. Create a poll in real time. I want to create a poll in real time, and then I'm gonna be talking about this pick. Let's start the poll on YouTube, and you can answer on YouTube, and we will be addressing the results in a minute. So I have a couple things. This is maybe the strongest, most practical argument. Many have had this comment, but I just copied this from Combobulate on X. Trump's playing 3D chess, not checkers. He can fire a Secretary of State, but not a senator. However, the new senator will be 100% aligned with the MAGA agenda. I understand that the new senator will be picked by Ron DeSantis. If Marco doesn't do a good job as Secretary of State, he will be fired. That's the reality. I remember that so many of us had our doubts about J.D. Vance. I didn't know J.D. Vance back then. And it turned out to be the greatest pick for VP. As Donald Trump, he said it himself. He was like, well, a tank. J.D. Vance is a tank, or was a tank with the media. I'm sure that he's gonna keep being a tank with the media. So if Marco Rubio is the pick, maybe we can give him the benefit of the doubt. My background, so to speak, with Rubio is that he was one of the few who really stood up, and this is a topic that is close to home and is important in many ways, to Nicolas Maduro, the tyrant of Venezuela. He's not a dictator. He's a tyrant. There's a bit of a difference in there. And Marco Rubio was really adamant about Nicolas Maduro and all the other factions in Venezuela, because in Venezuela it happens one thing. It's not that you have one faction of the government that controls everything. There are at least two factions, one led by Nicolas Maduro and the other led by Diosdado Cabello, that control the country. That they control the country, and one of those factions control the terrorist side, the other the drugs, the other the trafficking, and other controls the ports, other control the tax, all the taxes. It's a bit of a mess. It's a bit complicated. Maybe I can explain that. But the thing is that Marco Rubio was really hawkish, if I could use that term, on Venezuela back then. We were talking about 2019. And Venezuela is important. Venezuela is important. Venezuela has always been important because of the location in America. It's right smack dab in the center of the American continent, and it's a hub for anything else in America and both the world. That's the appeal that Venezuela has always had. And of course, the oil reserves that can be quite heavy. Our oil is really heavy, but it is still a great asset. But what happened back then? What happened back then? It is in the best interest that right now we had elections on last July. We have Edmundo Gonzalez, who had to be self-exiled to Spain. We don't know what's going to happen on January 10th. It will be the end of Maduro's term, and Edmundo should be the one who becomes the next president of Venezuela, which is important for strategic reasons, and it's important for national security for the U.S. And you know that Tom Homan has said a lot that they want to prioritize the security of the United States, and the southern border has a lot to do with that. And a lot of that has to do with the gangs and the cartels that operate in the border of the United States. And so many of that has been pushed by Maduro releasing the worst criminals of the country into the United States and effectively flying them into the border to make them cross into the United States. I have explained this many times. So fixing the Venezuelan stuff, fixing the Venezuelan thing could help in many ways. The problem is that Trump has a lot to fix in the United States itself in this, well, not even 4 years. He has to fix that in the first 2 years. It has to be really quick before the midterm elections. Has to do many things. So I don't know if he will turn his face to Venezuela, especially after his first term, that this guy right next to me, Juan Guaido, he was the puppet of Nicolas Maduro, together with Leopoldo Lopez, who was the leader of the opposition. There had never been a real opposition in Venezuela. Leopoldo Lopez and Juan Guaido were just puppets paid for all these people to make sure that they made sure that the United States did not do anything. You remember Bolton, that Bolton wanted to glass Miraflores. Miraflores is the actual, it's like the White House. Miraflores is the White House of Venezuela. John Bolton wanted to glass Miraflores. I was like, oh my God, do it. Wait until, I don't know, they're all of them gather in there, at a meeting or something, and just glass it. And this guy next to me, all that he had to do is to, some kind of plea. We need help. We need some kind of help. And between Trump, who knew what was going on, and Bolton, who was, well, a madman in these terms, they could have gotten the job done. But this guy next to me, he made sure to cool down all those tensions because he was a puppet of Nicolas Maduro. So the Venezuela topic is still pulsating in there. And first of all, of course, the United States, they have to fix the immigration thing, the mass deportation things. That's going to be quite a task. But I see that, I don't know, maybe appointing Marco Rubio as Secretary of State will have to do something like that. Cat down. Bolton is a psycho. Yeah. It's, I don't know if I made that comment in one of my shows, in that Donald Trump said, you sometimes need that crazy guy in your team. And Bolton, I'm going to look for that interview of Donald Trump. You sometimes need that crazy guy in your team. And Bolton was that crazy guy that, let's do it. Let's do this. Let's do this. And I know that Bolton wanted to just level, Miraflores and like 500 meters around that. That would have helped Venezuela a lot. But we had the enemy within. So all these things, I can talk about the Venezuelan topic. And the problem is that Venezuela is right now a hub of terrorists, of human trafficking, and drug cartels. So it's like a launch pad that is affecting directly the United States. So my guess is that appointing Marco Rubio for this job might have to do with that. Again, I don't have any hopes for the United States doing anything about Venezuela, at least in the next couple of years, because it's so much that Trump has to fix in the terms of the United States. I would not be surprised that he has to just Well, maybe I will leave that for after the midterm elections. I don't know, maybe so many of your comments. I want to make a sense of your comments. I'm doing my research and learning about this. And again, it's your comments will be a great. They say. I put yes, but not sure. Jesus, your explanation of Rubio against Maduro makes me think yes. Again, Venezuela is a strategic part of geopolitics in the Americas. Oh, yes. So, after more than 300 votes, 65 of you say that yes, Marco Rubio is the right choice for Secretary of State, and no, 35% is not the right choice. So let's, it's still we have to check. All right, some of you have very strong comments. All of you have great comments, polite, which are the most important part. But I will make sure to give you my insights from my Venezuelan experience as a Venezuelan, of course, and what happened in that first term in Venezuela and why it was so important for the United States. The United States were the only ones who could help us back then. And I know that, I saw that since the January 23rd, 2019, that this guy was a snake. Maduro, of course, is a monster, but this guy was a snake. These people are not for real. If I ever meet this guy in person, man, I don't know. I'm going to heckle. I'm going to go all live on the spot and heckle him all the way to Naiguata. You Venezuelans, my fellow Venezuelans, know what I mean.